Well, it's just a huge, huge honor for me to bring back my very good friend for 30, 40 years. I don't know how long we've known each other. I've already podcasted you twice.
Yeah.
And I brought you back. Thanks for coming by. This is Bill Rossi from advancedpracticemanagement.com. You can email him apm at advancedpracticemanagement.com. But this man is the most data-driven person I know. For years, he has all these clients and he tracks all the data painstakingly. And I remember when dentists were starting to drop insurance and that we didn't have practice management software so much.
Yeah.
Everybody still had all their data in charts.
Yeah.
And like if a dentist said, if you said, well, what percent, how many patients come in every 6 months? And they had 5,000 charts. I mean, you would literally have to go through every chart. And what consultants would do is they would go in there and they'd pick a chart, and they put a ruler there, and then they take another chart. So
I remember that.
They sampled
That's
that.
how they,
And they'd say, well, since I took one chart for every foot, and I got 50 charts, I assume, but they just didn't know. But Bill knew, and I remember he's saying that like in where he's at in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, he'd say, well, I know this. I know dentists that drop these 3 insurance plans, their revenue goes down and their net income goes up. So I just know they're losing money on these things. And but anyway, I'm not. He's got a what do you call it? A 12-point?
No, today is mostly just kind of 12 practical I was thinking, if I was a dentist and wanted 12 practical tactical things that I could do that will help tweak my practice, make it more profitable, better, do it. So I was going, what would I tell someone if they had an hour and wanted some good hints? So that's what it is. And that's what I thought we'll do. Very just on point, not a lot of philosophy, just hitting it, and a little bit of PPO stuff, but mostly just how to make your practice better.
Well, I think you're the legend, you're the golden boy, and that's why you're on for the 3rd time. So take it away.
Okay. When we survey dentists in the upper Midwest all the time, every year, and we always ask what are the major issues. And the major issue the last 3 years has been, guess what? Staffing, mostly trying to get hygienists. I talk to dentists across the country, and constant struggle is being staffed up enough that you can take care of your patients. And the second most common thing is PPO stuff. So a lot of what we talk about is going to hit those two. But the first thing I want to get into is dentists have to give raises. Like when you have right about this time of year or the beginning of the year, most dentists are going to be giving their hygienists raises. They have to. And you can't control the market. You can't control the price of a hygienist. You can bitch about it and stuff. You can't control the market, but you can control the results. So my point on this is you're going to get raises, get something for it. Don't just give the raise without getting a quid pro quo. So every review, and a lot of doctors around the beginning of the year have their reviews, should be like a combination between wedding anniversary and let's make a deal. The wedding anniversary part is, Howard, you've been a great hygienist the past year. That patients, I got a lot of compliments from you. You got one from Mrs. Murgatroyd, Mrs. Willis. You show up on time. You do a lot of good things. So that's the wedding anniversary part, the celebration. It's a pleasure to work with you, an affirmation. And so that's why I'm going to give you a raise of X dollars. But you're also getting a raise of X dollars so they don't walk off because the market's so hot. Hygiene pay in the Twin Cities has gone up $10 in the last 4 years.
What are they getting an hour now?
It's in the mid 50s.
Yeah,
up there. And so it's gone up a lot. So they've gotten they get the raises. You're going to do that. Like I said, you can't control the market, but you control the results. So after the wedding anniversary party, you say, now, Howard, here's where I need your help. I'm wondering if you could put in a few more Thursdays, or light up the intro camera more, or help out more with sterilization, or get to a course on this, or get on top of the perio more, whatever it is, do more anesthesia for my patients. Will you help me with that? And so if you give a raise, at that point, even the most jaded hygienist or assistant they're going to feel like, yeah, I mean, you give me a raise, you're nice to me, I can do that. And you get their agreement. And then what you do is you check with them a month later and let them know if you notice that they did it. The camera's being lit up more, They're helping, they're being more flexible and covering whatever you ask for. Now, if every staff person you give a raise to, you get an agreement on something they're going to do to add to their contributions or make their contributions better in the coming year, you're going to have more money the next year to get more raises. Everyone wins. So if you get a round of raises and it costs you $1,000 a month in overhead, maybe you get $4,000 or $5,000 a month more action because the direction you gave as leader. So the number one thing is don't just give raises, give raise with a praise and get a quid pro quo. And one of the key ones right now is
Raise with a praise. I love it.
yeah.
Preach it.
I don't think I made it up, but someone did. But here's the thing I also say, buy yourself a year of peace, doctors. If you're in a larger practice with lots of hygienists or assistants, odds are someone's going to have a maternity leave or move on or something happens or their husband leaves or whatever. And you're going to be replacing people. But if you put an ad on Indeed, you might be paying your hygienist $52 an hour, but to get someone, if you're going to go to the market, you have to offer $55. But you don't because you want to tick off your existing hygienist. They put 52 and the phone doesn't. I go, you got to put what the market is. And right now, if you look at the other ads, you got to offer at least 55. This is just an example. I'm not saying the exact number. And so the doctor says, well, then the other hygienist would be ticked off. I said, one of the things you get in your reviews is you say, Howard, so this is your raise. And I'm not going to in 4 months from now, take it back. I want you to work on those things. But if we have to hire someone else because we're a large practice of turnover, I don't want any crap about what our ad says or we bring people on because they're going to have a different level of benefits. And I'll take care of you. But I'm not every time we hire a new person clinically in this big office, have another round of negotiations. So part of what you're buying with the raise is peace for a year, in addition to the other stuff. So that's hint number one, because you're going to pay the market, get something for it. Ready for number two?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm loving it. And I want to tell you, my first hygienist was named Missy.
Yeah.
And she's the best hygienist ever. You said you didn't want to use the name Missy. It was like my heart went, oh.
I just said,
She was so
that sounded
amazing.
sexist. So got it.
Yeah, so shout out to Missy.
Okay. So now and again, we have such, you and I can talk forever for the stuff we've been seeing over the years. And to me, I find it really interesting in our little dental world. Your dental world's a lot bigger than mine, but it's been really interesting to see how things evolve. And so you remember Jim Pride back in the day, His whole thing was scheduling and block scheduling and perfect day scheduling and all that. And almost everyone's heard of the idea of you got to have morning huddles and stuff. And I know almost every office knows about it, very few have them. I'm not going to talk about morning huddles, but I am going to talk about weekly review previews. So here's the deal. If you're trying block scheduling, which you know the deal with scheduling, let's say you work 4 days a week. And Monday's okay, Tuesday's okay, but Wednesday sucks. And then Thursday, okay, that blows it around. It's like if you golf and you have a hole that's a 12, it pulls down the whole round. So the idea is you need consistency. So that's why they do block scheduling. So every day has its meat and potatoes. Every day has a good mix, a good knapsack of procedures. But that falls apart unless you have some kind of review mechanism. So even if you don't have morning huddles, you have a standing time, let's say right after lunch on Thursdays, that you respect just like you would Rotary or something, okay? And the doctor and the assistant go to the admin team at the front desk and go, let's look at the previous week. Did we stick with our blocks? What happened to the schedule? When do we have too much time? When do we have too little? Where were the problems? What can we learn from? Now let's look ahead a week. Oh God, Tuesday, there's no way that patient's going to come on time. We're going to be behind all day. Could you move that patient to this? It's better than living through the nightmare of it. Or we have room here, or we can move this person here or that person there. And so every week you're kind of learning from the previous week and fixing it, and you'll have a much more consistent schedule. And then after a while, you won't need them. But if you're going to have block scheduling, you don't have weekly review previews, I predict that usually that will fall apart. And have your just, oh yeah, I know, but Wednesday was Wednesday. And then you have a bad day and it pulls the averages down. So if you take care of every day, I mean, you have flu season in Minnesota, we have the blizzards and the flu season. If you take care of every day, the months will take care of themselves. Okay, so that's a key one. Number 3.
Oh, I'm going to ask on number 2. That brings up on the block scheduling.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Queen, Jennifer D. St. George, who always talked about scheduling rocks sand, water.
Yeah,
That
yeah, I like the analogy.
that you you know, if your goal is to do 4,000 a day, you know, it starts at 8 o'clock and you get your rocks done by noon,
Yeah,
and then you come back and then you can do your because her analogy was if you take a glass,
Yeah,
you can
fill
fill
it
it
up
up with
with
rocks.
yeah,
But you know, in the afternoon, you can come back and take another glass and fill it up with sand, do all your fillings and all that kind of stuff. And even when it's filled with rocks and sand, you can come back with a glass of water and fill it up with water. And those are hygiene checks and suture removals and all the stuff like that. But do you believe that when the dentist gets there and she's fresh, she just woke up and she should knock her rocks out first thing in the morning?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I never have to do anything. I mean, you did, but I mean, I always liked that analogy she used. You know, I always considered her the Mrs. Doubtfire of consulting, because I met her at one of your seminars once, or I think it was when you're launching Dental Town or something, and you had all the consultants in the world there, and I went up to her and introduced myself, and she goes, "Oh, really? May I see your business card?" Well, I didn't bring a business card. I'm just down here to see how and the homies and stuff. "Oh, I see." Honestly.
Yeah, I think she had a British accent. Is she
I know. I
from-
just felt like a 6-year-old kid again. I mean, she just Mrs. Doubtfire the heck out of
That's
me.
funny. I always, yeah, the accent's totally unique, and I never stopped to ask, are you from London or Australia?
Well, I don't know.
She sounds British.
But she was good, and I do use that. So that's a rock. But anything versus just, most dentists still, they just fill in the book, whatever comes.
Well, the follow-up to that question is my staff always, my staff was amazing. I mean, if you're a dental assistant and you had kids,
yeah,
you had to be able to, they needed to leave at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No questions asked. So they would, if we had to, they'd go through lunch. And then if you didn't have kids, and you go have your lunch, but if we got to go long, but I always had the, I always started the day like, what is our break even point? If we wanted 50% overhead, what do we got to do?
Yeah.
I finally just said, screw all this shit. We're going to pay the bills first. And then you can go to Makayo's. And
well, that's a much more assertive stance than most clients I've ever thought of. I mean, that's just you. I mean, that's really hard to pull off, that kind of thing, but it's a good idea.
And I also paid my staff. I always knew that when I paid my staff, whether it be today's or Dental Town, that if you ever left my ass, no one's going to pay you what I did.
Right.
You're all going to take a pay cut
if you leave
when you leave here. And but they we got rid of the toxic people. They loved each other and they just my God, I preferred working through lunch anyway with an emergency.
Yeah.
Because I'm real sensitive to a food coma. I mean, if I go with them at lunch and eat 2 tacos and an iced tea and some chips and salsa, I just want to take a nap. I mean, every time I eat, ever since I was a little kid, and I always thought, is there something wrong with me?
Yeah.
And I would just, I'd rather have a glass of iced tea for lunch because when I eat, I want a nap. So, but it was at lunchtime till we paid the bills.
Yeah, and most people wouldn't have that assertiveness, but that's you. Okay.
Number 3.
This one I'm going to give a shout out to Bruce Bard. You guys
Oh, yeah.
but I'm going to say he was stealing a little bit of my thunder because I wrote an article called Clinical Calibration in 2001 for Dental Economics, and it's the best article I've ever written. And it's about how most offices had meetings where they went over HIPAA or OSHA or, cancellation or financial stuff. But almost no offices ever have even one meeting a year where they sat down for 2 hours and said, what do we believe in? What are our clinical protocols? Now, I was a swimmer in high school, and the divers would go off the board, and you have the judges, so they have a diver go off the board, and they say the first diver before we'll call that a 7. And then another diver goes off, and they go, was that a better or worse dive than the one before? Well, I don't know. What matters more, the splash or the lift off the board? Actually, the splash in that case. Well, then that was a 7.2. So what you did is when you did this, you're calibrating the judges, just like they do in the Olympics. So when you do calibration, you're basically defining what is a quality dive, what is a quality figure skating routine, that sort of thing. In a dental office, is what's quality treatment. Now, that's what you recommend. It doesn't mean the patients always choose it, but you have to start from a premise of what do you recommend. And I had to get into this because I work with clients all over the board. I had back in the day, a lot of Pankey guys and Dawson guys, and I hear more Pankey coming back nowadays. And I'd have people that you would consider crown happy and others you consider blind. And it was never up to me. And I remember I was first trained to be a consultant back in 1980. We would go to the doctor and say, Howard, your crown bridge is at 33%. It's supposed to be 38% or something. Every dentist you talk to is like, screw you. I'm the dentist. You aren't. I'll tell you when I do it. And I go, that just didn't work. And it didn't work to use a percentage. So I learned from a mentor of mine, Tom Speed, out of Kansas City, who was one of the first consultants in the United States, Patterson rep that became a consultant. He said, you got to have them use their own value system. So he did a thing where he said, have the hygienist and doctor for a week count crowns, meaning they look at the patients in their chair and right next to the day sheets they used to have in the operatories, they write down how many crowns will be getting done if that mouth was in your head, that didn't get done for whatever reason. And the hygienist is taking the left side, the doctor's taking the right. They're not trying to match, but at the end of the week, they go, I saw 4 potential crowns. I saw 8. Where are we different? That's calibration, right? But what it really did is got the hygienist above the gum line and it got the doctor thinking, if I'm seeing it, am I saying it? You know, and it brings up the conversation. And then it's not Rossi saying your percentage of crown and bridge isn't big enough. It's like, God, there's stuff walking out of here based on my own value system. That's what clinical calibration is about. And from what I've seen at Bruce's promotional materials, that's what they're driving at. And it can be terrifically effective because once you have that, you just talk about, they do it more. And I'm just amazed most offices didn't do it. So you should every year have a clinical policy.
So are you going to number 4 now?
I'm on 3, but I'm going to hit to 4.
Oh, well, what was the name of that practice manager consultant?
Excuse me?
Who did you say was the first practice manager?
I think, well, the first one I know was Tom Smead. He was out of Kansas City, and he was a Patterson rep. And
Tom Smead.
Very dignified guy, good guy. I went road shock become with him for a few days, like I did with Ken Runkle as well. And I learned more in those few days and all kinds of other stuff. So,
and then you mentioned Bruce Baird.
Deceased. Huh?
You mentioned Bruce Baird.
Yeah, of course. And I've seen Bruce down in Destin. We were both down there speaking at one time.
Right.
And I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And but I'm going, well, me too. I was in that clinical cut, but I've been doing that. Okay.
So you think he lifted up from you? That
no, I'm not going to say that. I think
well, that's the sincerest form of flattery.
Well, I don't know if he did.
But I just want to say a shout out because he just passed away last week.
Who?
Bruce Baird.
What?
Yeah, Bruce Baird, Bruce Berlon Baird. He was born 1955. Just passed away January 7th, 2026.
What?
Dental industry pioneer and visionary co-founder and big friends of Bill and I. And he leaves behind a legacy and a wife,
Heck of a
Cindy.
company.
And my God, he is.
Had no idea, Howard. When did you know this?
I was called that morning, and then that night we had his family and company and staff. We had a Zoom call. I can't even count how many people in that Zoom call.
Well, despite I hope you don't think
no,
I know if he was here, he'd probably laugh. He probably give me. I know
he
when
was one of the best guys in dentistry.
Yeah.
And a visionary in every sense of the world. But what I liked about Bruce is, he was fearless. He was fun.
He was Hercules.
He was into missionary dentistry. He was just one of the greatest guys. Yeah. And just loved him to death. And Bruce, you will be missed. And and every comment on Dental Town under the obituary was just every comment was wow, sad, great guy, blah 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 blah. He was truly larger than life.
And he did a hell of a company at the PDA. That was really.
But the thing that he did is like you do. He got people to think outside. He got people. I always think that the biggest the biggest barrier to all humans is their own self.
Yeah.
You're your own worst enemy, and
right.
You tell yourself. In fact, I want to tell you, he was the reminded me of this. Let me see if I can find that real quick. I'm on. But anyway, Oh, I know how I can find it. I got to search for what I can find it. I'll put in May 11, 1987. That was when. But this was such a
What was that? What do you mean, May 11, 1987?
that's when I opened up my dental office.
Oh,
And I just wanted to write this because this is what I think Bruce Beard did is he could take some kid who was afraid of his own shadow and spend 2 days with him at a seminar, and the kid he'd grow a pair, raise his self-esteem, and he'd go back and try something. Like you know what I mean? Kid like you know, you refers out several $1,000s a month, enough money to pay his dental student loans and his mortgage payment in just molar endo.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'll do the front teeth, but I won't do a molar. And it's like, well, why? And he said, well, it's, they're 3-4 rooted. I said, well, you like front teeth? And he said, yeah. You like one canal? I said, okay, well, we'll just go back to that molar and just do one canal at a time. You're just going to do 4 incisors, just pick a freaking canal, start, and do them all 4 in a row. But I wrote this today. We started Dental Town and released the 30-day dental MBA in 1999. That was 27 years ago. And all that time, after millions of conversations with dentists, I've noticed one phrase that kills more dreams than any other. Not now. You hear it everywhere. At meetings, at seminars, online. A young dentist tells you their dream. Open their own practice. Build something for their own.
Yeah.
You can see the excitement in their eyes. This is usually why they went to dental school in the first place.
Yeah.
And they never come up to you and say, I gave up on that dream. They never say, that's what I really want, but I'm not going to do it. Instead, they say 2 quiet, destructive words. Not now. Not now sounds responsible. First, I need more experience. First, I need to pay down debt. First, I need to get married, have a baby, buy a house. There is always something in the way. And here's the truth no one tells you. Not now almost always turns into not ever, because once you clear one obstacle, another one shows up. What I finally realized this, not now is just fear wearing a suit and tie. That doesn't mean you quit your job tomorrow or blow up your life. It means you stop pretending fear is logic. It means you start moving toward the thing that excites you now. Email someone who's already done it. Have a lunch with a dentist you admire. Take a class. Walk into your local dental supply branch and talk through your idea. Call a practice broker. Call Bill Rossi at 952-921-3360. Do something, anything, but get on the path now. There's never a perfect time. There will always be fear. The only difference between people who build their dream and people don't is this. They move anyway. Stop saying not now. Start saying now.
When did you write that?
I posted it the other day.
That's a recent post?
Yeah, it was on January 12th. But the thing we were talking about Bruce Beard, and what I liked about Bruce Beard is these people would have production that was like low, and they had all these expenses driven by the market.
Yeah. So
they had high overhead, and he would just like, well, why can't you produce? They tell him when they producing. He goes, dude, you can produce twice that much an hour.
Yeah.
I remember when Omar Reed, he really got stabbed all the time in the back. Everybody here, everybody was just trash talking. He was a legend. And because no one ever listens to him. All your critics never even met him.
He was from down here, right?
Yeah, right here in Scottsdale. And he passed away. Whenever someone says the pandemic, I feel really bad because when that pandemic came out, that's right when he died. And then everybody was scared. I was scared of the pandemic at first. I didn't know what was going on. And he had a funeral, and I knew they'd be coming from everywhere in the world. And I was talking to his wife and his family, and people were coming from England and Germany and Canada and all. And I thought, oh my God, someone's going to be carrying that virus. I mean, that is the last place in the world you want to go to, is an international funeral for Omar freaking Reed.
Yeah.
But anyway, he called the 92nd crown prep. Remember, he thought, anybody preps the crown 92nd.
People were outraged.
A hack. But what he was saying is that he measured hundreds of dentists with stoplights. You drill,
look,
and then you rinse, look, dry. Then you drill, rinse, and he says, God dang it, just get in there and drill the damn thing. Quit taking 25. It's a molar. It's not brain surgery.
I remember, again, now as a clinician, but it was considered heresy.
Yeah, and then we had the same thing with the other late dentist who did the Scott Perkins, who just passed away the year before.
He did too?
Yeah, he passed away too.
God, we got to stop talking. People are dying.
I know. I already have on this Dentistry Uncensored, I already have a list of the RIP series. It's past 20 doctors. I podcasted 20 people.
Okay,
and I was hoping that you'd be the next one. That's why I brought you
God,
today.
yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
scaring the
I'm
shit
like,
out of
God
me.
dang, I need to get that list moving again.
Well, I
But
don't
anyway,
know.
Scott Perkins, he did the 15-minute root canal. And even my own friends that are endodontists say, why would you have that hack? And why would you have that
Yeah.
shit? And why would you do that? And I said, did you listen to it? Did you watch his
Yeah.
tape? I went all the way to Texas. No, was it Louisiana or Texas? I forgot which one it was. I went all the way to Texas and spent the day with him. And you go into the endodontist office, and he picks up the night eye deal, and he loads it, and he looks for the file, and blah blah blah, and he drills a little, then he takes it off, and then man, Scott Perkins had 4 rotary instruments. His assistants already had them all set up.
Yeah.
He'd pick up one, do it, put it back, pick up the other, and he did more to that tooth in 15 minutes than any endodontist ever does in an hour, because they don't understand operational logistics. You even see what they do with general dentists all the time. Even hygienists will say, "Oh, I need a ProfiJet or the intro camera. Can someone bring in the intro camera?" I had every operatory was a 737. If one 737 needed it, all 8 rooms had it. There weren't hygiene rooms, op rooms. We even had amalgam tritrators, even though we did like an amalgam once a year when you had to or whatever. But it's all logistics. And
I remember when this guy, again, I'm not a clinician, and I'm careful because my clients had different clinical religions. They're LVI guys and other guys and stuff. But I remember I bought those Scott tapes too, and I didn't pretend to know anything. I just said, this guy seems kind of interesting. You want to look at it, but there's a visceral reaction. When I tried to say, look, I've got the little TV and it's all set up, I can just leave it here. And they go, I don't want that crap. They had a visceral reaction against it. And I'm not a clinician, so I backed off it, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I watched the seminars down at Woody Oak's place with you.
Well, if you're not a clinician, you should start a DSO, because Pat Bauer of Heartland, he's not a dentist.
Yeah, and he's from Minneapolis.
Yeah, and the head of Pacific Dental Services, he's not a dentist, and the head of sounds like you don't need to be a dentist to own 1,000 dental offices.
You might need to be a dentist to tell dentists how to do dentistry, though. But maybe they.
I know, but the point I'm making. Remember when Boeing got away from
I know
engineers, and
they got finance guys, and
we're going to bring in some Wall Street finance guys and move the headquarters from Seattle to
Washington, so they'd be done money.
It didn't take 2 years until the planes were falling out of the sky, and I know so
that's
many.
What happened with Sears too.
Yeah,
Sears became a finance company.
And didn't all these states already pass laws that you couldn't own a dental office without a dentist?
Well, I remember back in the day.
So how did it go? How did it, if at least 45 of the 50 states said you can't own a dental office without being a dentist, and then we skipped and went to national and said, oh, hell yeah, anybody can own a chain dental. I don't know. I just think that. Would you recommend a dentist run Boeing?
No.
Well, then would you recommend an MBA run 1,000 dental offices?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well,
are you afraid of them getting mad at you, or?
Well,
are you sitting here in fear? Come on, you're on Dentistry Uncensored. This is the HBO of dentistry. You can drop the F-bomb on my show.
I'm not afraid. Here, I'm going to ask you this. Do you know why the Pope has Swiss bodyguards? Why doesn't he have Italian bodyguards?
Why?
Think about it. The reason the Pope has Swiss bodyguards is they can't become Pope, or their family members can't become Pope. So he's got the guards around him.
Is this true?
Yeah, it's true. They were also really tall, imposing. They were real well-known mercenaries, but they were mercenaries. And if you had Italian bodyguards in Italy, when everyone's cousin wanted to be Pope, it wouldn't work out well. That's why they have them. And so that's why I think a management consultant shouldn't be the main decision maker. Can be the advisor, like Godfather has stereotypically Jewish or Irish lawyers.
Consigliere, they always have a non-Catholic.
They can't be Godfather.
Yeah.
So my point is, I always think the appropriate thing for a business guy is to be second in command, and where you have a dentist make the thing where you give them advice. It's kind of a.
Well, back to the DSOs. Right now, there's a hospital where all the nurses are on strike in New York City. 15,000 nurses are on strike. Yeah. And everything they're asking for, they're understaffed, they're stretched, they don't feel like they're doing their best job. Yeah. And they're not asking for a raise, they're asking for more nurses.
Yeah.
And the CEO is not a doctor. and makes 26 million a year, and he has a problem with it, so he's bringing in temps. I think America, I mean, when everybody talks about, how great America is, it just means one thing: they've never traveled. Because I've gone to Tokyo, I've gone to Finland, Denmark, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland. I can give you a list of 10 countries where all the trains run on time, there's no homeless, there's no graffiti, and they don't have this healthcare bullshit going on. So America, I want people to talk about it, because I think America is lost in the woods when it comes to healthcare. The ADA won't even take a position on DSOs. I'm not, DSOs are.
Well, you're not anti-DSOs.
No. I mean, they're. It's so funny how many dentists.
Well, are you okay with a non-dentist running a DSO? You asked me that.
No.
You think a dentist should be at the very head?
Absolutely,
Okay.
because they say, oh, we give our doctors clinical autonomy. Really? Well, have you read any threads on Reddit, Facebook, or Dental Town
about Aspen Dental?
About all the dentists? I mean, it's funny. And then when I write an article on it, the CEOs call me in like 5 seconds using profanity. They go and they lose their effing mind.
Really?
And it's like, dude, don't shoot me. I'm the messenger.
Yeah.
These are.
Yeah.
I'll take 100 posts on Dental Town.
Yeah.
And then I'll throw them in AI and I'll say, summarize
cool.
this.
That's kind of cool.
And well, it's really cool because instead of, I wrote a column every month, Howard Speaks.
Yeah.
So that was the world according to Howie. And I published all these other articles, like you sent in articles. So the world according to Bill.
Yeah.
So it was always the world according to one guy. And now, if you ever see something written by me, it's the world according to at least 100 dentists.
Okay.
I mean, we'll take 3 or 4 threads that have hundreds of replies. And
that's where you get your ideas from.
Well, I see what's trending, what's
Yeah.
bothering people, what the tough points are, and plus I just love it. I love dentistry.
Yeah.
And basically I'll be reading a thread, and it's just like the other day, and some I don't know anything about it. Like there was this new technology, Mod Jaw, to take bites. So I sit there and looked at that thread. Then I did a search for Mod Jaw, find out that John Nossi's talking about it, Lane. Ochi's talking about, all these big gurus are talking about it. So I spend 2-3 hours doing a deep dive on Mod Jaw, and then when you're done, you have all these posts, all these threads, and then you can throw it in AI and say, summarize this into a coherent, conclusive deal. And let's try to keep this to 600 to 1,000 words or whatever stuff. And then it's just amazing articles, and it's amazing because I was the conductor of putting this whole article together, but AI, I mean, if it's from me, it's from 100 points of view.
Yeah.
And so you get all the little nuances.
Yeah.
So when it's
on that now thing, that was not AI, that was you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, these are exciting times, but back to DSOs. I love Rick Workman. I think he's one of the best guys ever. But he's now like the founder and chairman of the board. So when these guys are Googling, is the CEO of Heartland a dentist? It says no. It shows up Pat Bauer. And I'm like, Rick, man, come on, man. You're a dentist. Get back down there. Yeah. That's CEO. And then dentists that, I know so many dentists that bitch about DSOs forever, but when they got time to sell their practice, who could you get to sell?
Yeah.
You could only sell your practice if it was like 750,000 or less. But once you had a practice worth $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, the only person who's going to get out his checkbook is Rick Workman. Yeah. So then they love it. And then a lot of times dentists are life changed. They get divorced, someone dies, they get a disease, and they love the job. When they come out of school, when I came out of school, you could only get a job in the Army, Navy, Indian Public Health Service, Indian Reservation. And now these kids, they can get a job in any city. Yeah. In the large city, the DSOs aren't rural. They can get a job. I love DSOs, but I don't give a shit what they say. My homies, they don't have clinical autonomy when a receptionist is walking up to them and say, well, we've looked at your x-rays and we see 10 crown opportunities today. And they just start.
That's exactly why I went to this clinical, because that's what I never wanted to do. I never wanted to be in a position where I go, what was I to be pushing around someone about this? I could bring it up. I could have them, but it goes back to their own value systems. According to your value system, that's why I went to that old calibration. Because otherwise, you got a suit telling people you got to do 5 crowns a week.
Yeah, and why? How come you guys never give many new patients? Well, you always do fillings, and you always do that.
Yeah.
But the other doctor, he always does crowns and deep cleanings. And
Okay.
you had a guy in here, 3 fillings and a regular cleaning. That could have been deep cleaning and 3 crowns.
Okay,
And it's
so
like, come on, man.
let's go there
That's
because
gross.
a couple of talking points. I'm going to skip to those.
No, don't skip them. Just go. You're on number
No,
4.
Well,
You're on 4. You said 412.
okay.
I'm holding your feet.
That
to
was
the
a
fire.
clinical policy summary, but I'm going to go to number 5. I'll go to the associate thing. I want to go to the associate because we're kind of there. Because if you're a dentist, you're the boss, and you have an associate, and you want them to succeed. And a really common thing is when you add an associate, they kind of wither on the vine. And I'll go in an office and say, you add the associate. What'd you do? Well, we sent out a letter or put up a plaque that we have the associate. And they go, well, how are you going to make sure the associate's busy? Well, they kind of, we'll give them the new patients and they'll go into it. And I go, okay, so what do you think? First thing I think you have to calibrate with the associate. You have to say, let's look at case histories in our practice when we do this, when we treat, when we refer, when we do everything from adult fluoride to x-rays, when we do it. So you have the same clinical protocols and we can agree on it. You just came out of school, maybe you know stuff we don't know. But a key problem is a doctor will let an associate wither in the vine because they don't give them exams. Now, when I look at a practice, the 2 of the key metrics I measure is how many exams are done, which is periodic. When we did the other one, periodic, comprehensive, limited. If you run a target store, you know how many people go through the cash register lines. If you run a dental office, you go by how many exams, because that's the definitive patient flow procedures. Not how far you're booked or what the Wall Street Journal said the economy is doing. It's how many exams you have. And is that more than yesterday or last year? How many comprehensive periodic? And your associate's assessed, if you got a new associate coming out, you have to feed them. It's like if you buy a thoroughbred racehorse, you better have hay. And hay to a new associate is 75 to 100 exams a month. And if you just say, well, we'll give you the new patients and other odds and ends, you're going to have a guy not succeed. So you have to decide at the beginning of the week, who is he going to do and not going to do, with the idea of saying, if the associate typically will get 1/3 of the exams. If your practice with like 2 and 2.5 hygienists, that's when you're bringing an associate in typically. You got to get the associate 75 to 100 exams. But what happens is the senior doctor goes, well, not Joe. I know Joe from, Mrs. Murgatroyd, she's pretty picky, and so the associate doesn't get the exams. The other thing is the assistants can damn him with faint praise. Dr. Farran has got an associate here to kind of heat and cover. He can't see you today. Can you see Dr. Rossi? Not exactly that bad, but that bad. So this is just a key thing. You get an associate, you decide ahead of time. You don't go, do you care which doctor examines you, because you're not leading the patient. Now, you're going to respect their what they want, but you're going to lead them because you want them to meet the new guy. And so your patient, Dr. New Guy, is scheduled to do your exam today. Have you met him before? Well, no, I haven't. He's new. Well, he's kind of from the area you thought me. Well, anyway, Dr. Farran wants you to meet him. He's part of the team to take care of you. Now, I come from Rochester, the Mayo Clinic. Everything's about team stuff. So we want all our doctors to know all our patients and all our patients to know our doctors. And so Dr. New Guy is going to see you today. Well, what the hell? How good is Dr. New Guy? Well, he did my kids' teeth, which is my next point. When I do a meeting introducing an associate, I'll point to the lead doctor and say, who's this doctor's doctor? And they go, huh? Who is this doctor's doctor? Huh? It's that doctor. See, if you can say to a patient, Dr. Farran sees Dr. Rossi, maybe the patient will have confidence too. If you say, Dr. Rossi did my kids' dentistry or my husband's dentistry, because one of the first things an associate should do is catch up in any dentistry that the staff or their family members need. So they have to earn the confidence of the staff. So they look people in the eye and say, Dr. New Guy will take good care of you. And they mean it. And they have a chance to earn their credibility. So if you don't do those things, like you really have a ceremony about bringing the associate and just here's a brochure with a face on it, you won't do it. So I'm really big on the associates getting exams.
Okay, but what I had the easiest deal selling the new guy. Say, oh my God, I just have all this stuff. Say, oh my, because they'd be young, straight out of school. So I was getting older. I say, oh my God, he's straight out of dental school. You wouldn't believe what they learn. They're like Star Wars compared to Mr. Old Airplane. But oh my God, it blows my mind what they're teaching.
So no problem.
And then everybody had their eyes open, like they want to meet the new guy. if you can't sell the new guy, then you just need to
You got to
learn
do it.
sell. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's really critical. Now I'm going back to exams because one of my hints is, which I glanced into, is you've got to track your exams. And like when we're taking someone off a Delta or doing any kind of transition, we watch the exams like you watch, I suppose, their heart monitor if they're going through surgery or something. And we want to hold it. And most people that we take off PPOs, we don't see the exams drop because we don't advise someone drop a PPO based on the proportion of it unless we think it has a regeneration capacity to maintain. Okay, so so when I look at a practice that's dropping a PPO, I'm going, okay, let's say the PPO is 10% of the practice. So I'm going to do an example of that now. I'm going to mix a couple of these two together. You're doing 100,000 a month. 10,000 is MetLife, about 10% of the practice. MetLife's paying you 60% of your fees, so you're right now 40%. So you drop MetLife, and with a proper mindset, you never knock an insurance, even when you're dropping insurance. You never say MetLife sucks because that makes the patients feel like the trailer trash because they have crappy insurance or something. No insurance is crappy. Insurance has done more to help dentistry than any other item you can name. I dare you to name any other item that has caused more people to get to the dentist and get this. So I'm the big exorcist, but we never knock insurance, even when we're dropping it. So you drop MetLife, you transition it, I should say, and you talk to the patients, you reassure them that's a whole nother deal. We're not doing that now. And let's say you maintain at least 60%. So that means you're at break even, right? Because you get this. Now, all the patients that stay with your MetLife are now golden fee for service patients. They're full fee patients. Now you have this 4% of open capacity. But we wouldn't advise you to drop MetLife when we thought that could fill in. Just like your bush is kind of leggy, we trim it back. It's a little bit back, then it's going to be better when it grows. So you lose $4,000 worth of treatment, then you bring in patients to fill in, just like if you take corn out of a silo, it fills in. But the patients coming in, you don't collect 100% from them because they'll have a general mix of Delta and PPOs too. So let's say you collect 75% on those $4,000 a month worth of patient treatment that you're filling in because you lost MetLife patients down to this. Well, let's say you net 3,000 on that. 3,000 times 12 is 36,000. That's another month's worth of income for the typical doctor if you assume about a 65% income. That's for dropping one PPO, that's 10% of the practice, and doing a halfway decent job if it has regeneration power. Okay, so there's my sermon on that one. I don't know where it fit in these numbers, but it points out on the little PPOs, the practice usually can heal up over them. And we found over and over again that patients are more loyal than you think they are. But you can't predict who. You might have somebody who went down on Christmas Eve to fix their kid that fell off a trike or something and fix their tooth, and they're out of there. And you might have someone that you hardly knew that's deeply loyal.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to talk to the young kids about is, usually believe people, your friends online, if they talk with conviction and they, but if this isn't flying over your head, like how many exams should the new dentist get a month?
75 to 100.
Okay, say when your friends are telling you all their bullshit beliefs and you just believe it because it's convincing or it's on a 1-minute TikTok video, did they say 75? Did they give you an exact number? I mean, this guy has been tracking the data for 40 years. I swear to God, you got to do your author search. And people just, if they would spend less time listening to people and more, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you talk. And I remember, I think the greatest takeaway that I take from Catholic school is I never saw my friends hardly, I've never seen this hardly ever from anybody who went to public schools. If you said you're going to do a book report on Mars, well, the first thing you do is you went to the library and you did an author search on who's the best person on Mars. And then they would argue with you like, really? You couldn't get anybody from NASA or the Jet Propulsion Laboratory? And furthermore, Howard, that person works at Mars Candy Bars. That's not even, but they were so focused on.
Yeah, I didn't get that when I was in school. They didn't say.
It was a Catholic school?
No.
Oh my God. You had 2 boxes in index cards. It was the author search and then the subject search. And the nuns were just, don't listen to anybody until you know who the frick you're listening. Otherwise, you're going to get shit in your head. And that was the greatest. That was the greatest gift. They call it the law of unintended consequences. You go into something. And the greatest benefit, you didn't know what it was. Like I went into lecturing, and the greatest benefit is I now took my kids. I lectured in
All over the world.
50 countries all
Yeah.
around the world.
Yeah.
And my boys always say the greatest impact, that was more learning
The travel.
than college. And the second one about starting a monthly column. Oh my God. Whenever I say something wrong, oh my God, I get all these free dentists sending me letters and emails and phone
Yeah.
calls that, no, I'll give you one example just because it's so damn funny. I called Patton a 4-star general.
Yeah.
I must have had 50 letters, emails, phone calls. He was never a 5-star general. He was a 4-star general. It's like, first of all, I mean, who cares? But God, I'll never forget that Patton is a 4-star general. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
I've had just as much information deleted out of my mind by sharing on Dental Town and being schooled. No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that getting wrong information out of your brain is probably more important than getting new
the right
information out of your brain. And God dang, you know the information. You know the data.
Look, you've
been tracking it for 40 years, measuring it, and they listen to people on TikTok that don't know their ass from second base, but they're convincing and they're stylistic and they're fun and they're entertaining.
Okay, but
they're talking out of their ass.
But let's say they are.
They don't have there's nothing to search on.
Okay, but here's my point is, even when someone's talking nonsense or what you might consider nonsense, it forces you to think, why do I think that's nonsense? So it still makes your thinking better, So even when you think someone's full of bullshit or you don't agree with them, you go, why do I don't agree? And how do I know he's full of bullshit? And so you can have crazy people and all kinds of stuff on Dental Town or anywhere and actually works just fine.
And I like Professor Richard Feynman's, who worked on the atomic bomb and won the Nobel Prize in quantum mechanics. And his deal was just keep explaining it simpler and simpler and simpler. And he was the one who pioneered if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you don't understand it. So take these very complex deals, like whether or not to take dental insurance or, if you can't, if I can't explain that to my grandson, Jasper, who's 7 or 6, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
It really is that, Voltaire was famous for saying, I saw this letter so long, I didn't have time to make it short. I mean, there's a famous.
Say that again.
I think it was Voltaire that said, I'm sorry this letter so long, I didn't have time to make it short.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest deal on Dental Town is, they're so, we got hit with inflation.
Yeah.
I mean, a big bout of the COVID, the stimulus checks. Think about how corrupt it was, where none of us could open up our dental office, but the big Fortune 500 companies, you could go to Walmart and Costco where there's 1,000 people sneezing and breathing, and that was okay. But you couldn't open it. But anyway, and the inflation, the wages, 20% of hygienists left the market. And when you lose 1 in 5 hygienists, the other 4 are worth more. Remember that Flip Wilson? Remember Flip Wilson?
Oh yeah, I do.
Oh God, I love Flip Wilson. And he was all excited because he got the 8 rarest faces in the world. And he's jumping up and down and he's banging his butt and all this stuff, and one falls over and breaks. And then he explains that, well, now the 7 are even more valuable. They're jumping up and down. They're jumping up and down. And finally he's down to 1 face, But the deal is when you have 5 hygienists, you lose 1. The other 4 are 20% more valuable.
Yeah.
And then the supply chains and dental supplies and it's tough. And a lot of dentists, they're not getting any pay raises from Delta or Blue Cross Blue Shield. So the insurance isn't keeping up with inflation. So their overhead's going up. Even Rick Kirshner, who's the god of mean and lean dentistry, and owns 100 comfort dental offices around the United States. And he always had every one of those things had 50% over less, 50% overhead less. Last time we were at dinner, I was at his house, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I had 50% overhead." I mean, that's disappearing.
Okay, but
Rick, disappearing
again. I know Rick Kirshner. I saw him down there in Destin with you all the time. We went there, but I think the way he has 50. And Rick, you're welcome to correct me because I know you won't hold back. But you know how he gets to 50% overhead, in my opinion? Doesn't have a hygiene department.
Oh, absolutely. And the only 2 publicly traded DSOs on earth don't have hygiene departments either. If you go to Australia, there's one 300 Smiles, and the other one is, I can get up the name, but the only 2 DSOs, and I had a dentist that moved from Australia here, and he worked for me. He was from there. I went all the way down there and podcasted him. And what they said is very simple. He goes, look, man, he goes, on the hygienist, you can't have a hygienist because, number one, let's just say easy math, the hygienist gets $50 an hour and the dental assistant gets 25. Why would you have a $50 hour hygienist set up the room when a $25 hour assistant can have? And then you go seat the patient, and then you the hygienist, when she gets ready to probe, she's got to call in a $25 hour assistant to record.
Okay.
So now you're at $75 an hour.
Okay, all that, but
let me finish. Let me finish. I haven't even got to the good part. And so now you got $75 an hour in there, and blah 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 blah. And then when the dentist, so it's an hour appointment. So then when the hygienist is ready for a dental check, they time measured it up, and on average, he has to wait 10 minutes for the exam.
That was one of my
because the dentist is busy and everything. So then the dentist finally runs in there. The patient's upside down. They're in masks, goggles, glasses, and they're in there for about 3 or 4 minutes. They do exam, and nothing is ever treatment plan on the deal.
Yeah.
So then they go back to the new patient exam, where you come in there and Rick Kirscher says, you got to meet him. You got to meet him outside the operatory first. You got to greet, why were you here? All that kind of stuff. And I see that in cosmetic breast surgery. Every guy in Phoenix who's getting $10,000 for a breast augmentation or a facelift versus all the ones getting $5,000. They've all personally told me, and I've met them, and I know them. They say, well, the difference is, the other ones meet you in the clinic, and they give you brochures of their, some brochure. They're about to cut on your face and breast, and they're giving you a brochure that they bought in the deal. He goes, I meet him in this room here, and he shows the room. It's got a couch. He's got carousels. He's got slide projector, and he's got, and so he tries to look at you. And if you're Howard or Bill Rossi and you're an older man, he's not going to show you, tummy tucks on a 30-year-old or facelifts on a woman. And he'll sit there with his assistant and he'll say, who looks exactly like this case? You'll give me carousels 13 and 14.
And then bring it in.
And then they bring it in there and they set it down. So they first talk like, what's going on? They get all the relationship and all the doping going and why are you here and what are your fears? Then he sits in the carousel and goes through 20 cases that he did himself that look like you. And then you see his work in the before after and he gets $10,000. And the person's charging $5,000. So
the idea with Krishner is you got to meet the person.
You got to meet them out of the operator. You got to go out there. You got to press the flesh. You got to run from air. You got to shake their hand. You got to sit down. How long has it been since your last dentist? Are you afraid? What are you looking to get done?
I remember something I saw when he was lecturing years ago. He was talking about whenever they lost a patient, he would personally call him up.
Yeah. He taught me
that
how
many doctors would do that?
I did. Rick had me doing that.
That's got to take balls. That's got to be tough.
No, it was interesting because I was all prepared for them to say that I suck and the dentistry is horrible and all that kind of stuff. That was true. More than, I don't know, maybe 20% of the time it was me, but it was always the front desk talking about emotional money and insurance. And it was always the front desk. And then you start learning that Sheila is so nice to you and she brings you a Starbucks and she just loves you. And then when you're back there doing a root canal, she's got attitude on the phone because back then we didn't record the phone calls. Oh, and it was the scheduling institute. It was Jay Geyer, who it was funny. Recording the phone calls, and then a phone coach would come in once a month, and I'd listen to those phone calls, and I just think, holy shit. I remember one time saying to one of my receptionists that had been with me like 20 years, I'm like, what? I basically said, what the fuck? Seriously? Oh, I was in a bad mood. Blah. But once you start, and that was when she knows she's being taped.
I know you're really nice people, but they don't sound that nice.
But I'm getting too many tangents over. But the deal is this: dentists live in this world, and it may be, I don't want you to say is it fantasy or not, that dental insurance, PPOs, no one's getting them raised, their overhead's going up, and they're saying, no, I'm going to drop these fucking insurance. I'm sick and tired of it. And then a lot of people say, you can't. And then I'm looking at this guy up the street from me, Monzer Shikali, who I had on the show. He's right up the street here in Phoenix. And that is, it's where Bob Sundberg used to practice for 20 years. And it is just a great, great dentist. And, but it's low income South Phoenix. It's not Ahwatukee where I was. It's not Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa. Certainly not Scottsdale, Paradise Valley. Yeah. It's not even middle class like Glendale. Right. I mean, it's South Phoenix. And he did his time. He worked for some DSOs. He got his experience. He figured out what he's want to do. But one of the things he figured out is he's not going to deal with insurance from day one. he's freaking crushing it. He's got
Was that a dental onset? What number was that one? I did not see that one.
yeah. Well, hell, I'll forward you his contact.
Yeah.
I'll forward you
No,
his
I
contact.
didn't see that one because that's interesting.
Share contact.
That sounds kind of like the joint chiropractic we were talking about,
Yeah, Monzo, I hope you don't mind that I'm sharing your contact to Bill Rossi on Dentistry Uncensored, but Monzer's crushing it. Out of nowhere, he'll text you like his new patient number.
Okay. All right, but
so get into the
Okay.
but anyway, get into that. How realistic is it for a dentist to get out of the third party insurance?
First of all, I was preparing for the talk I'm doing tonight elsewhere, and I had data going back, and so I go, when you factor in fee increases, inflation, and collection percentage, what's the outcome? So I went back to
When you factor in what? Say those three again.
the fee increases, inflation, and collection percentage. So
and the fact that the U.S. dollar is up 10%.
No,
this year.
No, let me say what else. So if you look at, I'm trying to get my exact years. I don't have my notes in front of me. I think I went back to 2007 and to 2025, and I looked at the CPI, the consumer price. Dental fees went up 200% between those two. Went up 100%. They doubled. Okay. Inflation was up 83%. So dental fees did go up faster than inflation, but at the same time, dental collections went from 93% to 77%. Okay.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I'm very serious. This is based on my database.
Right.
So you had this kind of slipping cut. The fees were going up faster than inflation, but the collection percentage was going down because, in effect, with the insurance discounts, that was working against it. The net effect was about 10 points. So doctors haven't lost tons of that, but they lost about 10 points of power. That's not the same as 10 collection points, but there was a slippage, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. Because I watched the collection percentage come down in my world like this. Now I have clients that collect 95, 96%, but those are rare. And I'm talking real gross versus stuff, not adjusted gross. A lot of people, I collect 99%, but 99% of the insurance company. So I wanted to say that part. There has been an erosion, but it doesn't account for all the pain. There's a lot of other things going on. I think there's a moral thing, because whenever you have, when you have a patient in the chair, it's never worked for a dentist to say, I'm getting $760 for this crown, I'm getting $1,200 for this one, and $15. I'll go to different labs. That never worked out. Dentists aren't wired that way. Or because you're a PPO patient, we're going to give you a 45-minute prophy. Never seen it pulled off. There was a brief period when there was capitation in dentistry where people are trying to, we want to have an anti-recall system, essentially.
Right.
All that thing. And
different values in the same office.
And then, so when we go to drop Delta somewhere or some other major PPO, often the staff feels guilty. They go, God, I feel real bad because now these people don't have all the stuff that they have with a Delta provider. I go, they still have health with insurance. They have benefits. If you want to write a letter saying you're sorry, how about the 20% of your patients that are paying the full fee all this time? You don't even blink about it. For somehow, if a patient has to pay the full fee, that's okay. But if an insurance patient has to pay more, oh God, we feel guilty. And it's because whenever you have a third party in the middle, there's some kind of moral dilemma. Same quality thing, but because this person works for IBM, they get a discount and the benefits. Because this person doesn't, they get our fees, and we're a high quality. So there's always this moral dilemma. But if you drop Delta at the time, I'm not saying, God, I talk more people out of dropping Delta than into it. I got guys all the time calling me up, pissed off or whatever, and I talk them off the ledge, not onto it. Because I never, I'm 73. I've done this more than I'm going to do it, right? I don't want to have someone come to me at some convention or something and say, hey, Rossi, thanks for helping me kill my practice. I'm not going out that way, right? I've never had anyone I recommend leave Delta or MetLife or anything that I know had to go back out and regret it, because we make sure they can regenerate past any predicted loss, and the whole thing, we get into it, and we're positive. The good thing about Delta is you can still go to the doctor of your choice, us, we hope, instead of Delta doesn't understand. Do you know how much we're paying for hygienists nowadays? Do you understand how our overhead's going up? Patients don't give a crap about that. So you say, the good thing about Delta is you can still come to us. Well, do they give us a better deal down the street to a provider? Yeah, you can go down there, but you don't get us. And the staff has to feel it's good. You still can get us. We still have benefits. Well, it only covers $200 in a crown. Well, dentistry certainly helps, doesn't it? It's better than a poke in the eye versus, so the glass is half full. The benefits aren't as good. You stress the positive. You don't get hallucinate or anything. You just keep it positive.
So when you say you talk dentists out of dropping Delta,
that's what they're calling me because they're pissed off. They haven't looked into it.
But are you recommending some of them go out of network?
I help people get out of network all the time.
Okay, well, it sounds like if you say you're talking to people not dropping, I think the lingo for dropping Delta means going out of
yes,
network.
It does. I assume that. Yeah, it does.
So you help dentists all the time go out of network.
Yes, but I'm very careful about it. It's like case selection because I have to live with them for 8 months to a year when they're going because it takes out. Here's
what percent of the dentists that call you do you recommend going out of network versus no, dude, you got to stay in there? And
I'll use criteria instead of percentage. If their team is in turmoil, if they're about to add an associate, they're not mutually exclusive, but I want a clean operating table. If they're about to get a new facility or just got one, if they just bought a practice and they haven't met the patients yet, it's only been a couple of years. If they don't have good new patient flow, if they have a crappy website, if they have, in other words, you have to be healthy to get in a fight with Delta. But when we do, I wish I didn't say it that way. It's not a fight.
It's competition.
Yeah, or transition. So when you get a transition Delta, you can't go into it with all kinds of crap flying around. You got to be focused. I remember, the team has to buy into it. The thing we went through, they had to feel okay with it. Because you can't say, here's some scripts from Rossi, just say that and the patients will be okay. If they don't own it, it won't work. Like if I gave you a script of Seinfeld, do you think you'd laugh? How about if I gave you a script of Friends? Do you think you'd yuck it up? So you can't give someone a script and all of a sudden they're feeling how they talk to patients. They have to actually feel that it's okay to be out of network. They shouldn't feel guilty.
So summarize the people ready. A healthy, mature practice with good systems, good staff, good patient flow. Those are the people that are healthy that can go on a long-term plan to transition to out of network.
If you want numbers, they're checking at least 2 hygienists per doctor, unless from a layperson's standpoint, if a doctor can't keep busy checking 2 hygienists, they're probably running right past it because that should be plenty. And I think it's fun. I think you know this. In North Carolina, by law, they can't check more than 2.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And you got to be a dentist on the practicer.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I can't figure that out.
But my point is that they have a couple things. If their new patients are, not 12 a month, more like 20 or better. If they have half a handle on things, most importantly, they have a good team. I ask them, how much confidence do you have in the front desk person? They go, not much. I go, call me in a year. I don't want to deal with it. And so they have to be the right conditions because that's about as serious deal as you can do in a practice. If you build a new facility, that's pretty serious because it's not reversible. Like if you drop MetLife, that earlier example, let's say I'm full of it, the economy takes, something goes wrong. You can always call MetLife and go, hell, I was kidding. I love you guys. I didn't mean it. It's not, if it doesn't work out, you can go back. I never had anyone do it. But if you drop Delta, it's more irreversible because in some, not all states, if you drop it, when you go back on, you have to come on the PPO level. And that's one of my main plays. There's still dentists out there that goes, I heard from Dental Town that there's no Delta Premier anymore. And they go, there sure is. There sure is.
Well, how many different Deltas are there?
There's 39.
Yeah. So people talk about Delta like it's a McDonald's. It's like you can't compare.
No, they're different.
Delta of Minneapolis. What's that guy's name? The Irishman?
Welsh. You like the dude because he's one of you. But he's long gone. He was real. Mike Walsh. He was really
Mike Walsh.
Yeah, very adversarial.
Yeah. Everybody hated him. He's all adversarial. Yeah. There was no one more fun to drink with at the bar. Listening to him.
I should have had a drink with him.
Oh my God. We used to get in the biggest trash talk. I love that guy.
Well,
because what I love is, it's philosophy. It was like Ronald Reagan and Tim O'Neill.
Yeah.
Tim O'Neill was a Democratic Speaker of the House.
And they were buddies.
And Republican and Reagan was a Republican president. And they would trash talk, fight all day long. And then it was 5 o'clock. They say, okay, screw it. Then they go get a beer and have dinner, and they were best buddies.
That's true.
It's like, why can't I talk that way with half the CEOs of DSOs. Like, dude, I'm not saying this.
Yeah.
You never heard
Yeah.
of Dental Town? You never heard of Reddit? You never heard of Facebook? Just go search your damn name.
Yeah.
And these are what your dentist telling me. So don't tell me that they have clinical autonomy, because they freaking don't, dude. They freaking don't.
I know. And again, that's what's really.
Do you want me to bring in a goddamn? I mean,
that's why I did the Godfather.
So we do a podcast where you just bring in like 100 people per large DSO that just tell you that they don't have clinical autonomy. And Rick Workman was always the best.
Yeah.
And I measure that by doctor turnover. He kept him there for years because he would listen to him. He's like, well, what is your goal? It's like, well, I'd like to get my FAGD. Well, let's get you on a 5-year program and let's get you that FAGD 100 hours a year. You might come in and say, well, I want to learn Invisalign. Okay, we're going to get surgical placement of implants. God dang, you got to have big balls long term to do that. But he kept them with continued education, listening to him, and he was a dentist, and he knows what it's like to be afraid of molar endo, and he knew what it's afraid of. They don't teach you ortho. And they don't teach you anything in dental school if they have a grad program in that deal. If they have a grad program for orthodontics, they won't teach you anything in ortho. If they have a grad program for endodontists, you'll never do a root
because they don't want you to.
Yeah. But anyway,
okay.
But continue.
All right, let's go. You glanced into this. What are the two things that hygienists complain about most in the world? Number one, waiting for the doctor to get in their room.
10 minutes.
Number two, waiting for the doctor to get out of the room. Okay. Any group of hygienists will tell you that. So
again, that's why the only two public DSOs don't have a hygienist because they'll seat the patient and the dentist will walk in and he's talking, but while he's talking, he's scaling.
Yeah.
And he's talking and they're talking shit about the Super Bowl.
Okay. But I'm not going there because most doctors want to have a hygienist. And one of the battles I have.
Why do you say that? They can't find a hygienist. They can't find a hygienist, and their overhead drops.
2 weeks ago, I'm in an office.
Every time they do an exam, people go up there and schedule like a new patient exam.
2 weeks ago, I'm in an office. They have a new doctor there, and their new patients have to wait 2 months to get in. And a lot of times, new patients want cleaning. I don't want to get into the whole, what should be your new patient intake, panky wise or whatever. And I said, would it be okay if you did some profies, like just new patient profies in your schedule, you and your assistant? No, I didn't go to dental school to do that. I go, but this is just the first time you have more time on the patient. All the stuff you just said, Howard, it's a tough sell for me. So what I'm going to now is most doctors have hygienists.
Well, what you just said there is hustle. And there's two types of dentists in America. And I have walked in unannounced to 1,000 dental offices, and 4 out of 5 times you see the average practice and the average numbers, and you'll always find the doctor in the private office with the door shut.
Yeah.
And then you go into the $1 million practices, and he knows that Superman worked at a phone booth. He's never back there. He's taking patients out. If he's running 15 minutes late, he'll carry Mrs. Jones to the front room, then turn to Bill. Bill, I'm so sorry. I'm running 15 minutes late, but I'm not going to tell you who made me do this, and they're laughing, and it's all right. But they're always hustling. Right. They can load autoclaves. They can do cleanings. If the hygienist says, I'm sorry, man, this person had to have their
Okay.
Hustle.
Okay.
Get out of your private office.
Okay.
Turn it into an operatory.
Wait, see, you're a dentist. You can do this. I have a mantra with my team. Our job is not to reform our clients, is to help them. Okay? So you can tell them that, but they're paying me to be there. I don't want to do the prophy. So you have a hygienist. Most offices have hygienists.
And since you're their consultant, you can't say, of course you don't do a prophy because you're lazy.
Yeah, let me try that.
Yeah, was your dad lazy too? Did anyone teach you how to hustle? Were you ever in team sports?
You can do that. I can't.
Did a coach ever throw your jersey at your face so hard it left a mark? Yeah. Okay. I understand.
Okay.
All right. Is your name Daddy did it?
In every dental office, busy ones especially, a doctor might have to check 2 hygienists, so he's got exams all day long. They get behind doing the exams, everyone gets stressed. So let's take this back to the clinical calibration. When you had that meeting with the team, did you kind of go over when you want the hygienist to warm things up? Like you mentioned, intraoral cameras, over 80% of offices have those now. It's been too long since I've done this, but I checked it once. The average intraoral camera is used about 5 times a week. That was an average. Now they have the same wrestle with the iTeros. They're trying to get the hygienist to use it, get it going. Anyway, So, and especially if they share, if you have the hygienist share a camera, then neither one uses it because they're not going to, in a busy day, take a step to go get a camera. So you're much better off buying a camera for each hygienist than having share, because otherwise you just waste your money completely. So anyway, so the doctor enters the room and the doctor's got a random bunch of stuff going in. Maybe he's talking to the patient a little bit. The hygienist is in her world. She's below the gum line and stuff. So you want to get the doctor in and out of the room. So you had the clinical policy summit, so at least they know when they do a crown, when they don't, when you just have some kind of thing, so the hygienist is warmed up. So the doctor's in the room, and they always should be briefed in order of the following. So first I come in the room, and I see you, the patient, I'm human. For the first minute, it's just human. How's a mother, being a human, And then when you're ready for that, you turn to the hygienist, and you say, just a very simple technique. Bring me up to date. What have you two discussed? Or what are your findings? The hygienist goes through the following. There's been no changes in the medical history meds, or there has. I've listed the new meds there. I asked Bill about any concerns he had, and he said he's just a little concerned about the sensitivity in the upper right. I said, of course, you're going to check that. And I had a note in the chart that you're concerned about tooth number 3. It looked like that might need to be fixed or restored or whatever. The perio condition, there was no pockets over 4. I just recommend he come back in October for his next checkup. And the pictures are up there. Those are current x-rays. And I also took an intraoral picture of number 3. So I did that slightly out of order, but it's medical history, patient concerns, usually perio or recall. Number 4, all other things, including previous chart notes, what pictures or x-rays are up, and any other observations. Bill doesn't feel it should be anything he should worry about. Or Bill only wants what insurance covers, something like that. So if you get that briefing, just like a captain coming off the bridge of a ship, we'll report, we're headed this way, 12 knots, whatever. That gets the doctor zero right in. You don't have the hygienist in this world, and the doctor has to reinforce whatever the hygienist recommended. That's the deal. And they set up what he's going to recommend. And he gets out of the room. So that's really critical, just a crisp briefing. And most officers go to, we don't really have a pattern. We come in and it meanders around, and then it takes too long and it's not effective.
Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse, so let me beat a dead horse.
Okay.
Just the fact that the difference between the amount of dentistry at a new patient exam that gets scheduled up front versus a recall exam is almost right. The recall exam is basically doing one tooth dentistry, and to prove it, after that patient's been going to you on 5 years of recall, and then he moves across town or another state.
Then they do more,
and then they do a new patient exam there. They have this big old treatment plan.
That's why,
and not to beat a dead horse. I'm going to come over here and beat a dead horse. So 1-300 Smiles, Pacific Smiles Group, and Q&M out of Singapore. That was podcast 850 with Daryl Holmes. Now these are guys that not only they have 100 offices, but they grow their new offices in cash. So they don't use private equity. Right. These boys don't use private equity. You know how they build a new practice? How? At a cash profit. They'll say, okay, we have this many millions of dollars of net profit cash. We'll build another office. And then that's 800. That was a few while back. That's number 850. No, that was podcast 850. Oh, okay. I think this one's going to be number 1700 or something. Yeah. This is and then Dr. Alex Abrams with Pacific Dental Group, and my God, that was 841. And then Q&M. I think this guy's going to be the richest one. Q&M, Raymond Ang. That was podcast 373 when I was in Singapore. But I podcast these guys on locations, and they love hygienists, and they don't have a problem with hygienists. What they have a problem with is that if you don't do the new patient exam, you don't do and another thing that beat me up there when I was getting my
so all those guys say the new patient should go on the doctor's schedule.
They don't have hygienists because when you come in for a cleaning, this $25 hour assistant's going to seat up the room. She's going to sit you. She's going to take the X-rays.
I couldn't sell my clients on that, most of them.
Well, you could, the ambitious ones who want to have $1 million, who want to double their net income and lower their overhead to 50%. And then they would go in there and they would get a breath of flesh and start talking truth. Like, did you know Scott Purdy of the 49ers went to high school in Chandler, Arizona with my programmer And I mean, my God, he's going to win the Super Bowl because he's from Arizona, damn it, and he's the only quarterback. And, so you're talking that, but while you're doing that, you're reading the X-rays, you're bonding, you're leaning back, and then your exam, Think how much better that exam, a recall exam when you're upside down in 3 minutes. When you're scaling each tooth, when you're in the middle of a root canal and you run over to the hygiene room and knock out
I would love to have you hit the road with me in Minnesota.
I did thousands and thousands of cleanings because I would do them over lunch. I would do it during a cancel. If someone needed to get their teeth cleaned in and I had an opening, I do it because I was with my assistant. So
you weren't too good to do a cleaning.
Well, that hour appointment for a cleaning, it's only 15 minutes of my time. Yeah. So when I'm going in there and scaling, I mean, I know from myself that when I would go in there and get a mirror and explore and do a deal exam, okay, I would say, I don't care if you're Mike Melker, is one of the best exam comprehensive dentistry guys in the world. Yeah. Even Mike Melker's exam would be better if he did all the scaling first.
You have to really,
you're spending the time, you're looking, and then and all that, and you're looking at the X-ray, you're bonding, you're in there about 15 minutes. But if you're in there 15 minutes, and that's what these guys, this is what these guys did at 1-300 Smiles, Pacific Smiles Group, and Q&M, the only publicly traded DSOs in the world. They said that the amount of dentistry scheduled up front to be done is related to the number of minutes exam. So you go in there and do a 3-4 minute recall exam. You'll schedule $1.
Yeah.
And you go in there and your exam average is 15 minutes, you'll schedule $3.
Okay.
And it's only 15 minutes of the doctor's hour to do a cleaning. Yeah. But if you're in there 15 minutes, they're going to schedule what you did. And if you're in there 3 minutes, I mean, how many times does the dentist go in there and say, you need an MOD on 3 and a PFM on 4? It just nothing gets done. And they walk straight out. If the hygienist doesn't schedule the recall, most people just get up, they just walk straight out the front door.
No, that's a legend.
But... So and furthermore, I mean, God, it used to scare the shit out of me when you're placing implants around mental foramens and nerves and all that. My gosh, retreating a root canal, am I ever going to get this out? Am I ever going to find it? You know how relaxing it is to do a 15-minute scaling and new patient exam?
Yeah, but unfortunately, again,
Talk about rock, sand, and water. Yeah. That's water. That's fun.
Yeah.
It's like just talking to you. It's fun.
Yeah.
But
I don't.
How come you can't go find 15 minutes of fun?
Okay, I'm
talking to a human. Maybe you have a personality disorder. Maybe you're.
I'm going to tell that office when I go down there again that they probably have personality disorder.
Yeah. What's that new personality disorder that everybody says to people out? What's the new one out? Histrionic or some.
I don't know.
I hear. It seems like every dentist that's getting divorced, his wife is. It used to be bipolar. It used to be crazy, but now it's like
whatever it is, it's whatever it is, fault.
And but anyway, it's
saying that.
I don't know, man. I think the patients and the staff are the most fun about dentistry. Yeah. And when you're seeing them every 6 months, you know how many patients I met when they just got married and bringing kids in with a car seat. Yeah. And then 20 years later, that little car seat kid is carrying in a kid with a car seat.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, it was fun as hell. And why wouldn't you want to talk to that guy for 15 minutes when you're scaling his teeth?
You're preaching to the choir here, but I don't. The choir, not even the choir. So, but I have to tell you, I have the same kind of thing because, like in northern Minnesota, there's a lot of father-daughter associateships because, again, it sounds sexist, but daughters tend to come back home when they're going to have families. Sons, not as much. And so I'm in Bemidji, Minnesota, and there's 3 doctors there, all that have associates that are their daughters. And then I have another client or two that goes, I can't find an associate. And I go, well, you screwed up. You should have had a daughter 20 years ago and put her into dental school. You have to grow your own up here. You got to get a head start.
And if you have a daughter, when you're in the nursing home, they're going to bring you cookies and cakes and
sons that.
You have a son. They're gonna. I don't know. He started drilling, and we called Medicaid. They picked him up. We haven't seen him since.
Well, I've seen practices now where it's been 3 generations.
That is so cool.
And I remember the one in Detroit Lakes I worked with was all guys, and then it would be 2 generations later it's all women.
Yeah.
And
now there's more women graduating from dental school than men.
There are. Well, that's really
it's higher.
Yeah, I can see that. How much time we have all? What do we have?
Well, I just have one question to go back to something earlier you said. You talked about you have doctors that are panky doctors and LVI doctors and
Different religions. it seems like.
Lane, Ochi,
Yeah.
Panky, all these full mouth guys, whatever. But which continuing education camps, which clinical camps do you think the doctor has a nicer lifestyle and makes more income than
I think
now?
when we were talking last night, from my point of view, any doctor that goes to a lot of continuing ed and involves their staff, whatever it is, does better.
Yeah.
And whatever. It's
But you got to take your staff.
oh well, I know you at least have to sometimes take your staff. If you said you always have to take your staff, I wouldn't get it. But if I think I told you if one of my sons became a dentist, I'd be thrilled. But one of the first piece of advice I get is take 3 times the continuing ed you're supposed to. And there's no question.
Your son said that?
No, I said that. If
Okay.
I was talking to one of my sons becoming a dentist, that's the number one thing I
3
tell him.
times more.
Because
CD.
as an outside observer, as a reporter, not a clinician, the doctors that have a lot of continuing ed, whether it's practice management stuff, going to the seminars you and I used to go to all the time, Matto Brothers and Woody Oaks and your dental town things, they always seem to be happier, better practices. So that'd be really important to me, but I can't pick which one's a winner. I just know that.
I agree 100%. And when I look back, like I remember when I was getting my fellowship at the Mission Institute, I had to go to the University of Pittsburgh 7 times for a 3-day weekend.
Whoa.
And I look back 25 years later, the biggest impact that had on me, I mean, Carl, it was like discovering a new continent like Australia that I'd never
really
seen or heard or whatever, but it was a relationship like Paul O'Malley. He was one of the lecturers there. And,
now he's still around, isn't he?
oh yeah. Changed my whole.
I love his stuff.
But 3 or 4, in fact, the dentist that sat right next to me became one of my best friends. I mean,
Okay.
7 3. I mean, so
At a MISH seminar.
yeah. So you and then in Phoenix, Arizona, every time you would take a course, you join the AGD. But so my rule was, it takes 5 years to get your fellowship in the AGD. So it's 100 hours a year. You got to have 500 hours, 5 years. So you just set the clock at 100 hours a year and take 100 hours a year, because when you have 100 hours of like going to see you lecture tonight and getting all this great information in your head, other people in your head, everybody says that, like my kids when they were going out, it's like, I wanted to know who they were with. If they were with some of their friends, they didn't have to come back ever.
Yeah.
If there were other friends, like you had to be back at 10 o'clock. If you're hanging out with 5 kids that are all smoking pot,
Yeah.
your son's going to start smoking pot.
Oh, yeah.
If he hangs out with 5 friends that are in a gang, your son's going to join a gang.
Yeah.
So when you are calling your old buddies from dental school and they're telling you the sky's falling, everything sucks, and we should all have been plumbers, wrong friend. So when you're going to continue education, everybody in that room is going for it.
Yeah.
So that becomes your new norm.
Yes. Right.
Every time
It
you're
sets
going to the back on the
expectations.
break, the norm is everybody's like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's cool. Do you think you could do that?" I mean, I've never done a skin graft. I've never placed it. Blah, blah, blah. So when you're always at CE, you're always with the people going for it, and you forget about
I would
all
agree
the
with that.
naysayers.
Yeah. And you also look like this guy isn't any smarter than I am, and he's doing terrific things. I can do it. I know that's what happens too.
Yeah.
With a good crowd, but you also go, if they can do it, I can do it. Your expectations change. So I'm really big on that. And we were talking about this too, as long as we're on it. So if you're telling a young dentist really critical thing, take 3 times the continuing ed. The other thing is, if you're going to locate a practice, I always say don't locate it in a pretty city. And just like that guy you mentioned. And my test of that, because like Edina, Minnesota, where my offices are, is an upscale suburb, sort of like, I guess you would say Ahwatukee was, or something like that, right? And there's a lot of dentists chasing not very much decay, and there's a lot of insurance. Now, if you get to the exurbs, about an hour outside the cities, you have people that have money, and some have insurance, some don't. You go further out, you have a lot of medical assistance, and so your sweet spot is about, as I told you, the best way to locate is about an hour away from the closest sushi restaurant. If you're about an hour away from the closest sushi restaurant, you're probably right in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, and I've heard it before. People saying if you're 2 hours from where a Southwest Airlines plane takes off, you're in good demographics.
Is that right?
Yeah, but if you're in 30 minutes, if you can get to an airport with the Southwest Airlines in 30, 45 minutes, you're in overcongested, bad demographics.
That's a new one.
And
I
the
have
thing
not
is,
known.
you don't need demographics if you buy a practice. Like every time Mormon, shout out to the Mormons, I think they're about 10% of every graduating class of every dental school I've ever gone to. But if you go back to Salt Lake City, you have to buy an existing practice. There's no room in the Salt Lake for a new dentist. So you have to buy out your demographics. And if you want to open your own practice from scratch and you're LDS and you go back to Utah or Idaho or Gilbert, Arizona, you got to go rural. And man, they will go to some town of 6,000, 8,000. They will crush it.
I know we got a lot of those clients.
So you don't need demographics if you buy existing because it's already operating. It's like if I went to a Starbucks and it was already busy, there's the proof. Now, if I was going to open up a Starbucks from de novo on the corner, you better know what the hell you're doing, because even Starbucks, think about that. Starbucks is a master. They open up 1,000 new Starbucks a year, but they close down several hundred. So they're only shooting 4 out of 5.
That's one of the things I tell dentists if they're going to locate or build a practice, or locate even if they don't build it or rent a space or whatever they're doing. Don't go anywhere you wouldn't see a Starbucks. If you can't imagine a Starbucks there, don't go there. You never put a Starbucks in the tall building in Manhattan. They got to. You never put a Starbucks in your building here.
Yeah. So when I opened up my dental office, my dad had signs, so I had retail, and I was at the corner of 48th and LA, 2 4-lane streets. And there was a Pizza Hut, a Chase Bank, a Chicken.
They did your research for you.
And I was in there, and I was the 8th dentist on this corner.
Really?
And almost the first 100 people said to me, God, it's about time Ahwatukee got a dentist.
Because you had a sign.
And there was a medical dental building across the street with just great clinicians that already been doing it for 5 years, better dentists than me. I mean, there was like 8 dentists who were between 5, have been doing it between 5 and 10 or 15 years, that were amazing. But if you couldn't find them in a medical dental building and they didn't advertise, they didn't market, and how the hell were you supposed to know?
If you're going to build a dental office, I tell them, first of all, architects are idiots when it comes to signage. Never believe an architect that says he has, if you're doing a freestanding building, he's got your signage down. They don't. You don't need to, because they'll do this beautiful little building, and then they'll stick up in Minnesota like a square box sign with a picture of a balloon and a pine tree or something, and call it Pine Tree Dental. And I go, no, I mean, the whole front of the building has to be a sign. It has to be a whole look, and architects don't get it.
I got the first book, 100-year-old book called Dental Economics before the magazine. And I love collecting old dental books. I found a deal from Kansas 100 years ago. And guess what it said?
What?
If they can't see you from the horse's trail, you don't exist.
They actually had that quote.
Yeah. If they can't see you from the horse's trail, you don't exist. Okay. And that's before autos. And now we're with autos, and it's like, if you're driving down a 4-lane street, you see the Starbucks, you see the Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you see Today's Dental.
Yeah.
And when you go back to DSOs, you would never miss an Aspen. And Aspen, Heartland is doing the Kroger deal where, every state, if they buy Dillon's, they leave it named Dillon's. I got here, Kroger bought Fry's, they leave it Fry's. Right. So Heartland doesn't have that name brand recognition like Aspen does, but my God, Aspen, every building's the same. It looks like a McDonald's. Yeah. And man, they open up an Aspen and everybody knows they're there and they're busy.
One of my things about the PPOs, I say, if you have a sign up, you don't have to sign up. That's my clever little saying. Because you get. By the way, I was going to talk to you about that too. But if
you have a sign up, you don't have to sign up.
Get a sign up, so you don't have to sign up for insurance.
Oh,
that's a cute way to say it.
And that's what Monzer did. It's like gives you, because it makes the website,
it makes everything else work better. And so years ago, I had a guy from the Mayo Clinic who was a statistician with the Mayo Clinic. His name was unpronounceable, like Anathema or something like that. Classic Southern, India kind of guy, super smart, nerdy guy. And I had him dive into all my data, and we're trying to find things out. Now, this data is old now, but I still think it's right. So we looked at how many new patients per hour per doctor or practice had in my database. And there was over 250 dentists reporting it. That was a big database, but it was upper Midwest. But that's kind of, it's pretty much the U.S. Okay. And we looked into it and go, what's the biggest factor in how many new patients people have? And we said, is it their insurance participation? Is it they're male or female? How many hours are open? was too early in Google reviews to call that a factor. There were some other factors. And almost if I talk to the average dentist on the street, I say, what's your major source of new patients? Number one, they say word of mouth. Number two, they say insurance, almost all the time. When I looked at it, the number one factor that came to the front is signage and visibility. That was it. Insurance is a factor, but it's not the only factor or the main factor. Signage was much more important. Referrals are really important too, but signage makes everything work better. And so visibility is absolutely critical. And now we have, websites and all that. And of course, beyond my reach right now is, the searches aren't done by, they're done by Google Gemini, not Google. So all that's changing. So I'm not going there today because I don't have enough information. But visibility is superpower for a dentist. And I'd much rather you spend $6,000 a month more for a location where you have visibility and good signage, but don't have an architect design the sign.
Well,
then have beautiful rent and
You said it's going to Google and Gemini AI, and you're not ready for that. Can I just make one comment about that? You guys, AI is a large language model, and you're still stuck in that Google like a keyword like dentist near me.
The reviews matter.
Reviews matter are huge.
Yeah.
But Google near me, in the old HTML world, that's a tag, but it might be dentist near me for a dental school, for a hygiene school, applying to dental hygiene school, all these, you're getting all these leads, but they're not coming in. And it's a large language model. And your website now, if you're going to start showing up on ChatGPT, which is huge, or they're searching, they're doing voice prompts like my ChatGPT. Look at my ChatGPT. It's just a prompt. It's a prompt. I just hit that.
I got it too.
And now I'm on ChatGPT. So I'm driving. I'm talking. I talk to that prompt 10 times a day. But so you got to go
fall
from
in love with it.
a keyword search to a phrase. You got to talk. It's a large language. So your website says, if you're looking for a dentist near me that accepts your dental insurance, who's, but you got to get on the site, and it's got to be phraseology from the English language that these people are talking into ChatGPT. So you got to go from word search
keywords to
instead
a bigger
of keywords. You're going to go to phraseology. It's a large language model. I want you to read your own website and say, yeah, that's how the people around here talk.
Yeah.
They're saying, yeah, I want a dentist who uses nitrous oxide, or I want one that's open on Saturday, or, you got to have, it's not. And then they have keywords, and they stuff them with keywords, and they write these technical blogs that no one talks like that.
Yeah.
And the AI is just training on a data set. It's not a human. It doesn't have any intelligence.
Yeah.
Just make sure that the way your homies talk in your town, if you're in
that's on your website because of this.
If you're in Beeville, Texas, it ought to say, y'all take insurance, or y'all pull teeth. I mean, it's a large language model. Make it sound like a language. It's not keywords. It's
I wonder I think, but I don't know. But I think that also if your website has a chat in it where people can ask questions and stuff, and you kind of have to train it. That I think that the AI world recognizes other AI. And so I've got on my website, and we're training the chatbot so it sounds like me. It doesn't sound like a bureaucrat.
You're voice cloning yourself?
Well, not voice cloning, just the language they use. Like I don't go, we try to ascertain if.
Well, if you go to 11 Labs,
11labs.com,
and I think it's like $22 a month, and you only need it for 1 month, but you can talk into it for 2 minutes. And then use that MP3 file for your voice clone. So if it talks for 2 minutes, it'll voice clone.
Then they can answer by voice.
And then they can answer with voice, but it'll be Bill Rossi's voice.
Well, right now we're just, at like a frequently asked question chat. But at first it was coming up very bureaucratic sounding. Like I don't sound like, we assess the things over multiple things to maximize profitability. And I just hate language like that. We'll help you make more.
Well, you can also pick a language.
I know.
And
but they're speaking mostly English in Minnesota,
No, but I mean, it could be a soft speaking girl. It could be a girl with a Southern accent. It could be a football coach. So whatever you think is the most.
Well, probably.
But hey, we're okay.
Our
goal is 40 minutes, and we're just coming up on an hour 40.
Okay. So, what?
Yeah, it's 106.
Okay. So we got, okay.
We started at 11:30.
Okay. I think we can wrap it up now. There's a couple more, but I'll do.
No. Do the couple more, man.
Well, like I said, let's not go long. Besides, I got to get my nap in. Hey, everybody out there. Try spending a couple hours with Howard and see if you feel like you need a nap. You might.
I'm just warming you up for your seminar tonight. This would be the best warm-up seminar.
It probably is. I want to talk about one other thing that's really insidious, and it kind of goes to it kind of ties together the protocol thing and the insurance thing and some of the other stuff. And that is the slippery slope. Like, it's not at all uncommon in a dental office for people to ask the admin team, hey, would you look up if Joe, Pete, Sam, or Marilyn has the insurance that will cover the fluorides, and if they're due for x-rays according to the insurance, and how much their benefits they have left. And it seems like a good thing, because then the hygienist can say, hey, Howard, we checked, you can get fluoride, it's covered by your insurance. But you can see how if you start using insurance, it starts to twist you, where you're starting to diagnose based on insurance. It starts off completely benign, but it's insidious. Okay, so you have to go, look, we are never going to diagnose by insurance, treatment plan by insurance, accept or not accept new patients by insurance. We're not going to do that. So if you have a patient, I bet you every dentist out there's had a patient say, I only want what insurance covers. Okay, so how do you answer that? You know, you don't want to get high and mighty and go, you are always in charge of the treatment you get here. The doctor will look at you, do the analysis, and give you the best advice based on their experience, all that stuff they can. And you get to make the decision of what you want to do. But he never diagnoses based on your insurance policy. My job is to make sure we get the most out of insurance to do whatever you want to do or not. You're in charge, but we're not going to, like, you know, so let's go back to the fluoride. It's so simple. How much do you think it costs for a fluoride? It's like $1.20, maybe, an application. I mean, it's not much. How long does it take? 1 or 2 minutes. Why is that $45? This is one area, you know, I'm Mr. Pro dentist, but I just think every year people do fee increases and they bump the fluoride $1. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's even more dumb. I mean, I got an MBA from Arizona State University. I call it playing with a full hand. Are you doing something that's faster, easier, higher quality, less expensive, and scalable?
Yeah.
So the rest of the world says, okay, we're going to go around the earth, the sun, for a year.
Yeah.
And when we get back to our starting point, we're going to be able to sell this thing that we sell cheaper.
Yeah.
And prices just trend down for 90% of by all the winners.
Yeah.
And the dentists say, well, we went around the sun for a year and we decide we're going to raise all our prices 10%.
Yeah.
So no one thought with their brain. I mean, what is
Sam, with that thing we talked about, the clutch is slipping anyway. If you're with insurance, the clutch is slipping. I
mean, Sam Walton, and when my staff would come and ask you for a raise, I'd say, oh, okay, well, two things, Jen. When you refer in a friend of mine, you always come give me this big old sob story. We're my sister's roommate's cousin who just got out of jail and got his front tooth knocked out, and he needs all this stuff, and he doesn't have any money. Can you do this on him for $100?
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, so this is what you want your friends and loved ones. Well, what do you want for our patients? So so every time the earth went around the sun, they come in for their astrology raise. They say, well, Howard, based on astrology, I just figured out that the earth has gone around the sun. So based on my astrological palm reading, and you know I'm a Gemini, I need another $1 an hour. I say, okay, but you want all this dentistry that I do free for you and half price giveaway for all your friends and family. So please tell me, in that year of going around the sun, Mrs. Virgo, Gemini, Capricorn the third, how did you lower our cost?
Yeah. Okay.
And then dentists are completely irrational. I'll say, well, what is your favorite procedure? I'll say crowns, man. I love crowns. I got a CEREC machine. Freaking love crowns. Okay. How much did your crown cost last year? They go, $1,000. What does it cost this year? $1,100. So the thing you love the most, do the most, study the most gets more expensive every year. You must be from a different universe, because, and furthermore, think of this. If after a year of doing that, he lowered his crown from 1,000 to 900, do you think he would do more crowns or less crowns?
Probably more.
Oh, probably.
I've never seen that in my whole career. I don't think that will ever happen, except
I know a periodontist in gosh darn, what's that city in Florida? It's on the Gulf side, Sarasota, Florida.
Yeah.
And he says that the periodontist going back, last time I talked to him was like 10 years ago. The periodontist, they bragging rights. Well, how much you get an implant? Well, I'm getting 1,000. Really, I'm getting 1,100, and then it's 1,200, it's 1,300, 1,400. He goes, and now 1,500. So he went out of his way to keep his at $9.99, and he puts a little ad in the local, Awatuki News, not the big paper, but just in his little community newspaper, and it says dental implants $9.99.
Yeah.
And then his small print name and phone number.
Yeah.
And everybody, every old lady retired in Florida's looking at this bill like, oh, Dr. Bill Rossi wants to place 5 implants at $1,500. Oh my gosh, $99 an implant. And he says, and the thing is, nobody that comes in needs 1 implant. They're always bringing in a treatment plan, and where they need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And he does more money than any of these guys. He makes some more money, and he stays low, his head's down, and he charges $9.99 an implant because everyone else is charging.
Yeah, and that kind of action is
plus.
extremely rare. I would have a hard time pulling it
It's
off.
not rare in free enterprise. Who's the number 1 market share in airplanes? Lowest cost Southwest. Who's the number 1 in retail? Walgreens, lowest cost. Costco.
Yeah.
How come every winner in free enterprise gets you the best value for the lowest price? And the dentists say, well, if the earth went around the sun, well, it's time for an astrology.
But you could argue that the doctors that participate with every insurance, in a way, are offering a bargain. They are.
Well, insurance is also a volume discount. I mean, if I get you to come in and you word of mouth referral, bring in your wife, that's one. But if you sign up for Delta and they give you 100, well, hell, if you're going to do 100, you would assume. I mean, Walmart. I mean, if I buy a Barbie doll from Mattel, they're going to charge me $10. But if Sam Walton buys 1 million Barbie dolls from Mattel, they're going to charge him $5. I mean, there are volume discounts, and they make sense.
Yeah, they do. But I'm going back to the fluoride thing now. So, we've done it, and where you say, let's try it, like it's Dental Health Month. Let's try it for a month, where we never look at the insurance, but we get it. It's $25. There's still plenty of profits there. It takes 2 minutes. Say to the patients, we really want you to have this. Not for all patients, but this is where you have the clinical policies on it. If you have exposed dentin in a number of places, sensitivity, lots of previous dental work, we're not going to just not say anything to those patients. We're going to say in situations like yours with those conditions, the doctor feels it's best if we do, professional strength fluoride. Most offices charge 50. We're charging 25. Insurance doesn't usually cover it. Some does. We think they all should, but we want you to have it, but we're not going to pressure you. It's your choice. We'll do this for you if you want. No pressure, because you don't want people hate being upsold. But if you charge less, you'll do more, and you think you'll end up with more revenue. But the real reason I'm bringing up all this thing with fluoride is how insurance can seep into how you think about your recommendations instead of looking at the science and other stuff. So you try to boil that away.
But imagine you charge $45 for a $1 fluoride application.
Yeah.
And you only had 25% close rate.
Yeah.
Well, what if you charge $25 for it?
It had 80%.
Yeah. I mean, economics tell you if you want to do more of something, make it faster, easier, and lower costs.
Yeah.
And if you want to do less, like why do they tax cigarettes? To make it more expensive, so you smoke less.
Yeah.
Why do they tax? Why do they tax anything you tax? You get less of it. Anything, if you want more of it, you don't tax it. That's why employment. I think people who hire people should not be taxed on their income, because the more income I have, the more money I have, the more people I hire. So if you want to create jobs, do not tax people who have employees, because you want to grow jobs. If you want to grow the job,
I don't think that will fly.
Of course it's not going to fly, because people are all judgmental and they're all crazy and they're almost they're not analytical. But anybody will tell you that if you have to write Uncle Sam a check for $300,000 this year, well, I'll tell you this: if I had that $300,000, I would have bought a couple more software engineers for Dental Town.
Really?
But I wrote a check to the IRS.
But what's to keep you from going to take the $300,000 and finally get that plane you've been wanting?
Because it's not my identity. It's not
but
my,
you're
it's not-
kind of an unusual dude.
well, I mean, I love this shit. And you know,
Yeah.
I sold Today's Dental because I couldn't see.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where treated the people like you want to be treated. I didn't want to be doing a root canal myself. I went from 2.5 to 3.8 to 4.
Yeah.
Well, I went to 10x freaking loops and had the headlamp, and I just couldn't see like I did when I was 25, 35. So I was not gifted in eyes or hair. Okay. And but the bottom line is I didn't sell Dental Town, and I mean
Because you like it.
I would rather read about business
Then
and
animal seeding.
dentistry and root canals, fillings, and crowns.
And a little history.
I love history. I love anthropology, but I don't like fiction.
Okay.
I find fiction's like,
What a waste of time.
well, it's not just a waste of time, but whenever I'm watching it with, my daughter-in-laws love it, like crime scene investigator, you're cringing the whole time, walking zombies, you're cringing, scary movies. Like, is this fun for anybody? We could be listening to anthropology and learn about these new finds, and I've been cringing for the last.
You're so nerdy. You go, let's go.
In fact, let me just tell you one thing
Yeah.
about crime scene investigator. Shout out to Janelle. But if you ever come home to your garage and there's antifreeze in the garage,
Yeah.
your wife's trying to murder you. It's tasteless. They pour it in your drink. I've watched enough CSI to know that
I've been
man.
feeling a little peaked lately.
If you ever see your wife, or like, why would your wife be getting that? You really think she's checking the antifreeze? Yeah. If there's antifreeze in your house, your wife ain't checking the antifreeze.
I just didn't
She's
think we'd go
poured it
there
in your-
today,
in
Howard.
your,
I didn't know
in
that
your
would come
Kool-Aid.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, no, I better check. That's a good point.
Well, hey,
You can't taste it, right? They can just kind of put it in.
yeah. And they're, oh my God, it's like, you always know that one's coming up.
Let's call this thing a day.
Okay, well, hey, Bill, seriously, this is the third time you've been on the show.
Yeah.
And to those listening out there, this guy's been doing this 40 years. Do your author search. This guy knows what he does. And God dang it. Last thing I'm going to say is this. When I can tell you some of the biggest practices I've ever seen, I said, man, what's the secret? And they said, look, man, every year I hire a consultant. And I'll tell you, if you give a consultant $1, that year your net income goes up at least $1.10. I've never spent $1 on a consultant and I didn't get my money back. I had Sandy Purdue. I had late Sally McKenzie. Jay Guy, all of them. Because if they're going to survive in dentistry, they got to know what the shit they're talking about.
Yeah, I think you even had St. George, didn't you?
I love that lady. But the bottom line is this. If you're having thoughts about any of this stuff, go to Bill's website, advancedpracticemanagement.com. Email him APM for Advanced Practice Management at advancedpracticemanagement.com, or call him at 952-921-3360. And if you say Howard sucks, he'll give you 10% off. Thank you very much.
All right.
You're
Thank you, Howard. Good time as always. Terrific. All right.